Hello everybody. Thank you for joining me here on Wednesday, February 13th. It's been a few days, so I just wanted to go live here to catch you up on some things I've got going on the back end. Shout out a few people that have sent me some really neat things, and then we'll talk about what's been going on in the world the past few days. So, first of all, you can see the digs I've got here, still setting up. You know, that's the blackboard over there they've been doing a lot of the work on. Over here, we've got blanket on the wall, audio foam going up, get it sounding better in here. Then you guys can see the good old board behind me. The board, got my maps, my bookshelf, a lot of cool stuff people have sent me on this board back here. And I did want to shout out a couple of people that have sent me some neat stuff. This white hat. So I think I mentioned this in one of my previous videos, but the guy that sent me this, John Marug, I think I forgot to link his Twitter handle below. So give him another shout out. He makes these white hats. He's been sending them to some people who have YouTube channels and Twitter accounts and citizen journalists, things like that. A little Q, he stitched himself on this. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. I work out in this. Great workout hat. And then, so I'll link his Twitter below, John Marug, and then good old Yellow Vest. Isn't this dope? Yellow Vest, it's got the where we were WWG1 on the back, Q on the front. Jody, her name's Jody. She makes these. She hand stitches them, and she'll send one to you if you want. I'll link her Twitter below. So, and I actually wore this last weekend, last Friday, at the House bill hearing for the state of Washington here, HB 1638, which was the vaccine bill. The bill to remove exemptions on the MMR vaccine. We'll talk a lot about vaccines in a minute here, but I wore this at that rally, which was cool. Wore this on the steps of the Washington State Capitol, got a photograph with my yellow vest on. So anyway, Jody, she makes those. She'll make you one, and I'll link her Twitter below. So thanks to those people, and if any of you guys want to send me something that you want me to post, on the board behind me, if you got any just artwork that you want to shout, I'll give you a shout out in these videos and I'll post it on the board. You can DM me on probably the best accounts to DM me on are Instagram or Twitter. So either one of those, and I'll give you my mailing address. You can send me your artwork or whatever the case, whatever you want to send me, I'll give you a shout out and post it. So there's that. And as for what's going on in the world, let's talk all this craziness, man. So, big tech problems. What's been going on Twitter, right? Man, I had a couple of tweets yesterday where 30 minutes in, I took a screenshot, 30 minutes, hour in, it had, 50 retweets, 100, 200 likes, and then I checked it a couple hours later, maybe 3-4 hours later, 5 retweets, 7 likes. It's like, what the heck? And I wasn't the only one. I saw that happen to a lot of people on Twitter, where posts of theirs were just literally getting erased. Their retweet count, their like count was getting straight erased. And then I also saw some evidence floating around how a lot of politicians' Twitter accounts, deep stater Twitter accounts, their numbers were getting inflated. People were doing screen captures, and I was seeing the like count jump from 3,000 to 15,000 like that. So, hey man, Twitter suppression. I saw the same thing happen on Facebook, and some people were telling me on YouTube as well. So all these big tech accounts, whatever they're fiddling with, whatever sort of algorithms they're testing, who knows? But quite obviously they want to suppress the truth, suppress information that harms their official narratives. And then it's quite obvious that they inflate those accounts that promote their official narratives. So, when I see different senators, politicians, different public figures who are promoting that official narrative, and they have 50,000 likes on their tweets or 100,000 likes on their tweets, I'm like, I guarantee you 100,000 people did not actually press like on that tweet. There are so many bot accounts, algorithm accounts that inflate those numbers, just like I was mentioning a minute ago, how you can see the like count go from 3,000 to 15,000. I think that was on Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez's account. She's of course pushing a lot of those official narratives. And there were some screen captures of her tweets going from 3,000 17,000 likes, just like that. So does this surprise you? Me? It doesn't surprise me at all. This is something you can venture to guess that has been happening for years now, in fact. But it's more apparent than ever. And the thing about now is that more people are aware than ever. More people have their freaking magnifying glasses out at everything that goes on the internet. So this whole great awakening is really catalyzing people to freaking look, because all the information is there. It's open source. You can see evidence of social media suppression, of corporations involved in crimes all across the board. You know, I'm not talking just about Facebook and Twitter here, but pharmaceutical corporations, financial corporations, defense contractors, everything, all their freaking crimes are right there. And people are getting more aware, they're connecting more dots, they're realizing the jig, and they're looking and they're searching for it more than ever. So it's very fun. Be in this age of digital citizen journalism and being one of the players in it. So it's very fun. Anyway, moving on to talking about some of the Q that's gone on in recent days. So one of these days I'll get that whole OBS set up and I'll be able to screen capture right on the screen here for you guys. But I'll just read them off. We'll talk a little bit about some of the ones that have been posted, or at least the topics. And we've sort of been talking about that official narrative. So over the past few days, Q has really been emphasizing how the fake news media, Hollywood, social media, all of the, you know, it's a multi-layered process that the deep state utilizes to pound that official narrative into our heads. And they, of course, use the fake news. Now, the way I view it, I actually view it from birth, me in particular, because our school systems do a massive number on our consciousness, on the public's consciousness, pounding that official narrative into our heads. So the way I see it, it really starts at birth, and you have schooling. You have elementary, middle, junior high, high school, then you go on into what they call higher learning, aka higher brainwashing institutions by way of colleges and state universities, private universities even. So that is how they groom you with the big picture narratives that they want you to believe, the big picture official narratives, aka fake news, that they want you to believe about our history, about physics, about mathematics, about what, health even, medicine, all of these things. They grill into us with Rockefeller education, you can call it. Just look into the families, the organizations, the foundations that started the education system in the Western world, especially in America here. Rockefellers, Carnegies, etc. So they grill it in you, public schooling, and then keep it ingrained into your head with the fake news media, with the mainstream media. Because you graduate at 18 or 22 or 25, you're a young adult, and as you go into the world out there, I'm not going to say the real world, but your wage slave job, right? You go into your wage slave job, you come home, and the education that you then receive through your adult life is the fake news media. You turn on the boob tube, you see CNN, Fox News, NBC, whatever the case, and that's what they continuously use, the repetition. I think one of these drops, Q even said Psych 101. If you hear and see something over and over again by multiple supposedly credible news agencies, elected officials, actors, documentaries, TVs, movies, internet, on and on and on, do factless claims become facts in the minds of many? That's what they do. Repetition. So you'll see it in the fake news media. You'll see it parroted over here by your favorite actor or actress or sports player. And then social media, you notice it on social media, you have the sponsored posts. I noticed this on Twitter. So the New York Times, it's always the freaking New York Times. I get sponsored posts by them every day, scrolling through my timeline. You'll see it on Facebook as well. Facebook will run these sponsored ads of the particular narratives they want you to believe. And even if it's not a mainstream media corporation, even if it's not the New York Times or CNN, you'll often see an alternative, but still very well parroting those official narratives. So it's not really an alternative. It's controlled opposition, if you want to call it that. And then, of course, we can talk about all of the freaking controlled opposition that has been inserted into the conspiracy realm or the alternative world by way of radio shows, talking heads, authors, journalists, documentarians, etc. So, my God, tentacles go deep. And there's a repetitive way. It's a step-by-step layered process of repetition they use to pound this official narrative into your head. What else did Q mention here? Psych 101, that idea of repetition. And I noticed this with that a lot of the controlled opposition people that I track. I track a lot of these controlled op assets, these plants in the conspiracy alternative domain, and they do the same damn thing. They're repetitively, every tweet, every post, every radio show, they're those repetitive, boom, boom, narratives that they're hitting into your heads. Q mentions here, do they count on the fact that work, family, stresses of life, typical person doesn't have enough time in the day to research topics for themselves? They don't. That's why the fake news media comes so important, because like I was just mentioning, people go to their wage slave jobs, working 8 hours a day, got some family, some errands to run, they come home, they only have an hour, couple hours to flip on the TV, and they don't have time to research on the internet. They don't know where to go look. That's the important thing. They don't know where to go look. All the information is there, they just don't know where to find it. So again, that's why citizen journalists are becoming so important, because we're easy to go to. Pop on your favorite YouTube channel or go on your favorite blog, and you'll have competing narratives, alternative narratives there. And a lot of people are waking up to these controlled opposition assets, so it's becoming very dangerous for the deep state, which is why we're seeing the censorship on the big tech platforms. And this is why YouTube is having to redo its algorithms for recommended videos, because a lot of these independent citizen journalists that aren't controlled opposition assets are getting recommended into people's feeds. They're gaining more popularity. This is not good. This is not good at all. So then Q goes on to reiterating the group think, etc., etc. When you are in need, you are weak. When you are weak, you are not strong. When you are not strong, you do not fight back. So when you are weak, you are not strong. When your body is weak, your mind cannot think. This is why they want you pumped full of shit food, toxic preservatives, artificial sweeteners, fluoride, vaccines. We'll talk more about vaccines in a minute here. I got a lot to talk about on that. Another video coming probably today just on vaccines as well. They want vaccines in you. They want you sedentary. Aaron just said do push-ups. Ha! Exactly, brother. They want you sedentary. They want you sitting behind a desk, sitting behind a car, at a chair, being lazy. When you're sedentary, you don't have blood, you don't have oxygen flowing through your body. Your body becomes stiff and brittle as well, and you're sick, and your mind doesn't work, okay? So they want you full of so many physical toxins to harm your mental state. And the thing about your mental state as well, they want you caught up with all of their Hollywood BS, media BS, all this stuff. So then you don't have time to go research for yourself, for your own mind. You don't have time to go and make your body healthy. You don't even know how to make your body healthy because you're stuck in the official narratives and wasting all your time with them. So I can go on and on about that. That was a big thing of Q's posts, big theme. Another theme was the fact that, well, why does the fake news media continue to attack a so-called conspiracy? Oh, because it's real. Because so many people are following it. They got to do all they can to put the kibosh on the Great Awakening. People seeing the political connections behind this all. And let's see here. Ooh, okay, let's get into the vaccine topic a little bit, because this does coincide, connect with some of what's gone on in Q's posts in recent days. And what Q has been mentioning a little bit about is Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood, let me get the posts up here and read them to you. Where does the money go? What is the process of disposal regarding aborted fetuses? What regulations, who monitors are in place to ensure that process is being followed? This has nothing to do with a woman's right to choose. It's a tactic they deploy when challenged to activate media hysteria, fear, etc. The focus is on the organization itself, okay? Now hold that thought. We'll talk a little bit more about this topic in a minute, this disgusting topic, but it actually does connect into a lot of the vaccine hysteria we see going on. So Vaccination propaganda galore. I've seen it on the Washington Post. You know about them. You know, that's the head of the media beasts. I've seen vaccine hysteria on thinkprogress.org just this morning. John Podesta's basically organization, his PAC started Think Progress and has his name all over it. So are you going to believe Think Progress? CNN, CBS, NBC, all of them parroting the same thing. Vaccine propaganda galore. Of course, the supposed outbreaks that are going on. Little do they tell you that a lot of these outbreaks are started by the live virus in the vaccine themselves. But of course, they spin the context. They blow it out of proportion. They blame it on the anti-vaxxers. What up, Matrix? Appreciate it, brother. I will come on your guys' show soon, most definitely. Let everybody know when that happens. So this vaccine, this outbreak hysteria, and they call a state of emergency for a whole 30, 40 individuals that got the measles, which it's a live virus vaccine again. Many of these outbreaks are started by vaccinated individuals who shed. And little does the media tell you, there's a typhus outbreak in Los Angeles right now. But the thing is, there's no vaccine for typhus. So the media is not going to say anything about that. No. The media is only going to tell you about the outbreak that's occurring that there's a vaccine for. But then again, backwards world, 180 degrees, everything. They tell you that vaccines prevent disease. Oh, just get your vaccines and this all would have been prevented. No, that's not the case as well. The studies are flawed. I was just researching how a few years ago, 2 scientists that used to work for Merck sued Merck because the studies that Merck did about their MMR vaccine, Merck is the only producer of the MMR vaccine. I bet you $1 million frickin' dollars there's some Merck fingerprints behind a lot of this vaccine hysteria, and maybe even the public officials making public statements of the official narrative about this outbreak. But anyway, 2 scientists were suing Merck because the studies were flawed. The studies that Merck did about the MMR vaccine that they themselves produced. So, do vaccines really prevent disease? What are we being told about vaccines in the mainstream media, right? And not just that, but how much of this psychological warfare is being given to the public, not just in terms of, okay, they say vaccines prevent disease, do they really? But there's also, anti-vaxxers are, of course, crazy conspiracy theorists. We always hear that, but they're spreading information on Facebook. A lot of information, a lot of articles going around the mainstream media this morning, psychological warfare, discussing how Facebook isn't doing enough to crack down on all these anti-vaxxers that are sharing information in Facebook groups. And I'm a part of a few of them. I think it was either the Washington Post, maybe it was Think Progress. They were talking about the Facebook group called Stop Mandatory Vaccines. I'm in that one. A lot of good information shared there, you know? And that's where people go on to ask questions and dig for research for alternative narratives. Facebook groups, things like that. They're trying to combat that with their mainstream media, with their psychological warfare. Don't listen to these crazy people. Facebook needs to do more to censor this stuff. All these crazy conspiracy theories, it's absurd. So there's multiple, gosh, I'm just thinking right now about why. Why is this vaccine propaganda getting so heavy right now? I didn't even talk about that teen that went against his mother's wishes and went and got vaccinated as soon as he turned 18 yet. I haven't even gotten to that. But, okay, what's going on? Well, we've been talking about that MMR. A lot of this hysteria going on is about the MMR. The MMR, again, like I said, Merck is the only one that produces it. The MMR uses aborted fetal tissue in its vaccine development. It uses human diploid cells. What's going on there? Where does Merck get the fetal tissue for its vaccine production? Not just Merck, but many of these other pharmaceutical companies. What was Q asking? Where does Right here. What is the process of disposal regarding aborted fetus? Where does it go? I think I was researching a company called Novogenics. They're a company that is in charge of the distribution, or they're in charge of basically getting this fetal tissue, and they sell it. They sell it to companies. There was another one, I forget the name of it, but they were in charge of utilizing this fetal tissue for flavor development for various processed foods. Yeah, that sounds nice, right? Organic's important for many more reasons than you might think. But back onto vaccines, does Novogenics or does some of these other companies, do they sell this aborted fetal tissue to pharmaceutical corporations? And then, do these pharmaceutical corporations, we know this, they utilize aborted fetal tissue in vaccine development, MMR. Geez, is there like a shortage of MMR right now with how much they're trying to push it? Are they trying to stockpile it? Is that why they need more aborted fetal tissue? Is this one of the reasons why this debate, or I should say, there's this push for late-term abortions? Like, what do they have a shortage? This is some sort of disgusting stuff, but I mean, these are questions that need to be asked. And, vaccine shortage, there's always articles going around about, oh, there's vaccine shortages. I just typed it into Google here. Shortage of shingles vaccine, shortage of anti-rabies vaccine, shortage. I'm not sure if the shingles vaccine uses aborted fetal tissue in its development, but quite a few of them do. And, is this why there's a push going on right now for late-term abortions? Do they need human tissue to do either product development or some of their studies on? There was a YouTube video of a doctor I've been recently researching. It's come up in my researchings, and this doctor was giving testimony. He looked like he was on giving testimony for a trial, really. Didn't look like he wanted to be talking, but he was on video discussing how he was using 70 fetuses for this particular study, this amount of fetuses for this study, and he was just like more than happy to share this information. It looked like he was laughing and shrugging during the thing too. So sick stuff, but it really happens. And man, I'm sure there's a lot of connections there. So weird stuff with Merck. And then if you go back, to tangent here, but some people have asked me this in recent days, and I've seen a lot of people say this, that vaccines were originally made with the, very safe. People are trying to say that vaccines were safe in the beginning and they were saving lives then, but then corruption occurred and vaccines we have now aren't the same we used to have. But you still have to, I don't know, is that part of the official narrative? It's gotten a little twisted. It's being spread around. If you actually do more research, a lot of the research evidence I've seen shows that this is not the case, and vaccines were actually never made healthily. Look into the SV40 cancer virus that was inserted into polio vaccines decades ago. This is like the very first polio vaccines, injected into tens of millions of Americans. Can we really say that they were safe in the beginning? And did they save lives in the beginning? Because when you, again, get into the evidence, there's a lot of evidence out there showing that better nutrition, better sanitation, the Eisenhower highway system was allowing food to and refrigeration systems as well, was allowing food to stay fresher and Americans to eat more balanced, healthy diets because they had a freaking fridge in their kitchen and they had highways that allowed fresh food to be transported greater distances. These sorts of little things, indoor plumbing, we didn't have to piss and shit in the back alley anymore. Our immune systems were getting much more support off that than the vaccines. And these infectious diseases were declining 90, 95, 98% in the first place before the vaccines were even introduced. Then the vaccines were introduced. And of course, the Rockefeller education system, same thing as Rockefeller medicine, the people who write the textbooks very conveniently edited it for their agenda and tried to say, oh, it was vaccines that caused this, Here's a contradiction for you. the mainstream media, the deep state propaganda, it always likes to say that, oh, there's no correlation between, or there's no, vaccines don't cause autism. Correlation is not causation, right? That's what they tell you. But at the same time, contradiction right there. They say, oh, correlation between vaccines and the reduce of infectious diseases, that must mean causation. Straight contradiction right there. So does correlation equal causation with vaccines actually reducing disease? Oh, damn good question. Damn good question. And also, wanted to mention this if we're talking about vaccine history, but look into, of course, I mean, this is a huge piece you always have to keep in the back of your head when you're deducing history. The history of the pharmaceutical industry, the defense contracting industry, the intelligence community, anything. Remember Operation Paperclip. Operation Paperclip. In the late 40s, early 50s, after World War II, thousands of Nazi scientists, researchers, intel agents, military officials, thousands of them were brought into America under Operation Paperclip. Public record probably doesn't tell you as much of what really happened, just gives you a sliver of it like usual. But where did these Nazi scientists, intelligence agents, where did these Nazi people go? They went into the pharmaceutical industry. They went into the media complex. Operation Mockingbird. Why does our mainstream media now use so many of the exact same techniques that Nazi propaganda did in World War II? Same mind control techniques, you know. These Nazi assets, agents, scientists went into, I mentioned the pharmaceutical complex, media complex, the intelligence industry, especially the CIA. The first director of the CIA, Allen Dulles, was very instrumental in Operation Paperclip occurring. And they also went into the defense industry, aerospace industry. Many of these Nazi scientists came over and brought the secret space program technologies with them into American corporations and really started building it out. So when you're thinking in terms of Operation Paperclip and the pharmaceutical industry, well, let's remember this deep state, you know, Nazis just being a faction of the deep state of these cult secret societies, you know, the top of the pyramid there. Their modus operandi is eugenics. Eugenics, the ethnic cleansing of peoples. And when I talk ethnic cleansing, I'm not talking about, you know, black or white or Jews. You know, the deep state, the top of the pyramid, it's all about bloodlines to them. So if you're not in their bloodline, they don't want you in the picture, essentially. Georgia Guidestones, they want a manageable Earth population of what, a few 100 million people. So this is that population control. This is eugenics. This is the deep state's modus operandi. So let's look in terms of vaccines. Was that, from the top, was there ever an intention for these to help us? No. Just like Monsanto's GMOs. I mean, geez, Monsanto and Bayer are same thing now. It's like it's like an old son returning home, right? Monsanto going back to Bayer, going back to its Nazi roots there. And fluoride as well. You know, fluoride is often said to be used in Nazi experiments back in World War II. It's being utilized in our municipal water now. So no, vaccines, when I think of them ever saving lives, ever helping humanity, I don't think of them doing that. Now, does that mean you know, and this is also, I'll go kind of tie in Q and vaccines here, because there was that Q post one time that said, it was detailing pharmaceutical corruption, and it was discussing vaccines. It said vaccines, but it said not all, okay? Not all vaccines essentially are bad, is what it looked like Q was inferring. Now, this really gets into semantics, and this gets into, okay, what do we define a vaccine as, okay? So if, say, I got bit by a snake or a spider or something, and I needed antivenom, and the antivenom was an injection, I would take it, hell yeah, right? I mean, I sure hope that antivenom isn't preserved in aluminum hydroxide or thimerosal, right? Mercury, but I would take the antivenom. That's not technically a vaccine. You see, that's not an immunization by technical definition. It's an injection, yes, but you're not utilizing that in the way that they say vaccines are for. You see, the way they say vaccines are for is you take this, what they call immunization, and it's supposed to increase your antibodies and give you this immunity to this disease that you're vaccinating for. You know, the typical official narrative is they're giving you a small dose of a virus, and that's supposed to make your body make antibodies and you'll be protected. Ironically, this is sort of the same idea as homeopathy, but the mainstream media, mainstream medicine calls homeopathy pseudoscience, quackery. I don't know. But anyway, that's what they say vaccines are supposed to do. Now, the thing is that modern medicine, mainstream medicine, they're so arrogant. They think they know a lot more about the human immune system than they really do. And there's still a lot of stuff they actually don't know about the immune system. People who get these vaccines still get these diseases. Wow, do vaccines really work like they say? How is it such that someone who doesn't get the vaccine doesn't get the diseases or does create antibodies without getting the vaccine? There's just a lot of instances that sort of makes their official narrative fall on its head. And not just that, but with the way our immune system works, you're not going to inject immunity into you. You know, through the research I've found, and this is a lot of hours, a lot of months, a lot of years I spent looking into this. You cannot inject immunity into you because your natural immune pathways work through your inflammatory system, you know, by way of your mucosal membranes down into your gut. Your gut creates the most immune cells of your body, okay? So there's a natural way that you are supposed to get sick. There's a natural inflammation response that occurs. Whenever you vaccinate with these viral cells, these aborted fetal tissue, putting the heavy metals in your body, all the adjuvants, all the polysorbate 80, all this shit, it's stimulating the wrong immune response. And all they look for in these studies when they approve a vaccine is they're looking for a single antibody. They're looking for that one antibody. Inject, find that antibody, checked, approved. This is not how real immunity works. You see, they're jipping the frickin' information just to get them approved. Natural immunity is a long process, you see? And this is why autoimmune rates are frickin' skyrocketing, because we're vaccinating. We're injecting that shit right into our blood that doesn't go through your natural processes of your, like I said, mucosal membranes, your gut, your natural inflammation processes. You're injecting it right into you, so it's stimulating a hypersensitive response. Yeah, they get that one antibody they were looking for, but there's a whole host of other stuff they don't even look for in these studies that occurs, okay? Then you get immune reaction, you get encephalitis. Why does your brain swell? Side effect of basically every single shot you get is brain swelling, encephalitis. That doesn't sound good. Not just that, but, you know, autoimmunity, peanut allergies. A lot of these vaccines are preserved in freaking peanut oil. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to put the dots together with that one. You're injecting peanut oil right into your blood. Remember? Right into your blood. Wow, maybe that's what's causing all these peanut allergies these days. Oh. Pretty easy to connect the dots with those ones. So, oh, also egg proteins. A lot of vaccines, they use egg proteins to culture the viral DNA in. Inject it in your blood. Again, autoimmunity, egg allergies, peanut allergies, etc. Because with eggs, peanuts, things like that, you're supposed to eat them. Your digestive system's supposed to break them down. You absorb them through your gut lining. You're good. Again, you're not supposed to inject this stuff. So, and also, you know, I could probably make this whole video podcast about just the ass backwardsness of health and all the propaganda they tell us there. But a reason these outbreaks occur is not a lack of vaccines. It's a fact that we are overly toxic as a society. but we're also completely disconnected from nature by way of the microbiome too. Bacteria is a wonderful thing. You know, it's a great thing. We need bacteria. 90% of the cells on your body, out of the 100 trillion cells that make up your meat suit, 90% of those that are inside you and on your skin are not our cells. It's bacteria. And your health is predicated solely on the balance between good flora and bad flora, probiotics and bad biotics in that meat suit of yours. So the fact that we are overly sanitizing everything these days with Clorox and hardcore bleach poisons and stuff, like we live, our environment is so clean that it's not building our immune systems the way they should be, you see? And of course, then we have toxins in our bodies, malnutrition, terrible diets. And like I said, the petri dish is almost too clean. We're too clean. So there's no bacteria. So then our immune systems just get no practice, right? If I drop food on the ground, I'll eat it. Oh yeah, it's practice for my immune system if there's any bacteria on it. I'm not scared. See, I'm not scared of bacteria. I don't have fear. Probably why I don't get sick. I don't have fear. There's no placebo effect in my head that's getting me overly neurotic and making myself sick with the, sometimes they call that the nocebo effect. You have the placebo, you think you're taking something and ends up being a sugar pill, but you think it's a drug that's helping you, so you actually recover. The placebo effect. There's the nocebo effect, where you're not even taking anything. Your head is just you're so freaking neurotic about getting sick, that you get sick. So don't delve into the fear. Don't let them get you with that, and you'll stay a lot healthier. Get back to nature. Get yourself out in the freaking dirt. You know, get yourself dirty. Give your immune system something to practice, but also at the same time, give your body good nutrition. Keep it detoxified. This is what helps prevent outbreaks, folks. Not a lack of vaccines. Shoot, look at the Amish population. Ain't no measles in the Amish. Ain't no autism either. They don't get vaccines. Rates of autism in the Amish population, what? 1 in tens of thousands. Autism in New Jersey, 1 in 15 boys. Terrible. Anyway, what else? Oh, last thing I wanted to discuss here is that teen getting vaccinated. So I'm sure you've seen this. It's just terrible, terrible propaganda flying around. A teenager turns 18 and goes onto Reddit and asks Reddit, what vaccine should I get? I think my mom's a crazy conspiracy theorist and I want to get vaccinated because I'm an adult now. And this is the story that's going around, but oh my God, it's just so bad. It's so awful. And it's so poorly done that it's so easy to go on to these folks' social media accounts, you know, the fake family that they're parading around. If you actually look up the name of the kid and the alleged mother and look at their Facebook accounts, if they're still up, I think some of them are getting deleted or locked down or whatnot. But from what I've seen so far, and I'm going to do more videos on this, more research of screen captures and stuff that I've found to show you guys, more than I can do on a live vid here, but looks totally fake. Family looks fake. The whole situation looks fake. This is fake news through and through. So first of all, let me bring it up here on my computer. So this teenager, his name's Ethan Lindenberger, he claimed, like I mentioned, he turned 18. He claimed to go on Reddit because he wanted vaccines. He thought his mom was wrong or whatever. And I fact-checked my mom. I think that was the headline on the Washington Post. Teen fact-checks his mom. Goes and gets vaccinated. Like, fuck, fact-checks? Right, fact-checks on Snopes. Gonna do it on Snopes? Ha. So, let me bring it up here. Yeah, teen fact-checks his mom. So, all right, first of all, before we even get into the organizations and foundations that are connected to this story, funding this story, let's talk about the individuals themselves. So Ethan Lindenberger is supposed to be a social media strategist. That's the 18-year-old. And his mom's name is Jill Wheeler. She's a drama teacher. She's in theater production. Theater production. Acting. It's like, it blows my mind. On one hand, I always try to play, I guess, the innocent one or the devil's advocate. And I'm like, there can't be that many freaking actors that are utilized in these psychological warfare false flags that we always see in the mainstream media. But when it comes down to it, it's like there's always a freaking acting connection somewhere. There's like an IMDb page for them, you know, like the Edgar Welch, the supposed Pizzagate shooter. He had like an IMDb page, and so many of these folks just, they turn out to be into theater or drama or an actor or something like that. So anyway, the mom, drama teacher, theater. The kid is a social media strategist. From what I've been told about people digging into these folks, there's a lot of connections to Broward County. Go freaking figure, of all places in America. The mom might have theater connections there. So that's a possibility. Not confirmed, but that's what I've been told, is that there are theater connections to Broward County between the mom. The kid's a social media strategist. I was also told that the kid is trying to like publish a book. So maybe there's some back-end deals that were going on, and these folks just decided, maybe they're a real family with just different last names. I don't know. Could be a fake freaking family for all it looks like, but maybe they wanted some deal. Maybe there was a back-end payoff. Who knows? Then they parade these guys around as their new pro-vax superstars. But now let's get into the connections between the organizations and the foundations behind this whole story. And then I'll get to some stuff in the chat. I'm sorry for totally ignoring the chat this whole time, but I've been ranting, and it can be very distracting here. So, organizations and foundations behind this story. The first news outlet to put this out, it's called undark.org. I've never heard of this website before, but I have when looking into this. Undark.org. And it's supposed to be this journalism website that reports on science, or the journalism of science, or something like that. Our partners include The Atlantic, NPR, Smithsonian, the Daily Beast, HuffPost, Salon, Time, Wired, Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists. Wow, they were just in the news for that whole doomsday clock, right? We're going to blame climate change and fake news. Let's move the doomsday clock. What a convenient connection there. What a synchronicity. Anyway, this undark.org, they are a nonprofit, editorially independent digital magazine exploring the intersection of science and society. It is published with generous funding from the John and James Knight Foundation. That's Knight with a K. So the John and James Knight Foundation created undark.org. Undark.org put out this whole teen vaccinated himself against his anti-vax mom's wishes story, okay? So, the John and James L. Knight Foundation, get this, they're a partner with the CDC. On cdc.gov, on their website, partners include the John and James Knight Foundation. Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk that the CDC the partner is partnered with the John and James Knight Foundation. I've also seen the John and James Knight Foundation do work with the Gates Foundation, Bill Gates Foundation. So again, what a coincidence. The John and James L. Knight Foundation publishes undark.org. Undark.org put out the propaganda about all this vaccine nonsense. Connect the dots. It's easy when you take a few minutes, but unfortunately a lot of people in this world don't have a few minutes. And I understand that, it sucks. Working a wage slave job, bills to pay, come home, errands to do, house chores, and only so much time in the day to research. But that's why us citizen journalists are here to rant on YouTube and make Twitter threads for you. So that's how all this is connected. And that's how this propaganda freaking works. One website will put it out, like undark.org here, that has connections to whether it's the pharmaceutical industry or the defense industry or whatever the case. And then the mainstream media industry, WAPO, CNN, Fox News even, NBC, CBS, and you got your claim to be independent ones over here, but still very much dependent, Daily Beast, Vice, HuffPo, there's freaking 50 of them. they will all parrot, they'll all get their news wire, they'll all get their 4 a.m. talking points via secure drop with their one article, that's all it takes, one article to parrot around, to get their narratives off of, to twist up however they want to twist up, but they got their talking points, you know. So example here with vaccines, I saw one example, I'm not going to talk about this too much because I'm going to do a video on this, but what is it here? I have the bookmark, fusion technology. So we're shifting gears a little bit. We're moving from pharmaceutical vaccines to free energy fusion disclosure, but still a topic I know a lot of you guys will like. Fusion technology. So there's a startup that wants its fusion reactor to actually produce power. This is newswire I've seen floating around a lot of the mainstream media the past 48 hours, just a couple days. Daily Beast reported on it, Futurism reported on it. A fusion reactor startup trying to make clean energy drastically cheaper. So they're all getting their 4 a.m. talking point about this company called First Light Fusion Group. It's an Oxford University knockoff shell company, basically. Oxford University is basically like the Ivy League of England, which means like Deep State University of England. Because of course Yale and Harvard and all of them over here are like the almost the most compromised of universities. Oxford is over in England. So there's this First Light group trying to make a fusion reactor. It's going to make brand new clean energy. Well, it's actually not the case with it. It's a huge limited hangout with a lot of misinformation behind it. It's not going to make clean energy drastically cheaper. There's a lot more I have to say on that, but it's just an example of how they get their one article that posts it. They all share that one article around just to pound the official narrative with repetition into your heads, because then you see it, or the mass public sees it on, you know, 10, 15, 20 different outlets. They go, wow, it must be the truth. Must be the truth. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that for today. What kind of questions you guys got for me, topics you want me to address, etc. in the comments. I'll hang out for another few minutes, and then it's off to more work. So the first one I saw, J-Dub, Jordan Dub, I like your name, so I'll answer this first. I remember you doing a video about your ayahuasca experience. I did. That was about a year, like a year and 4 months ago. So shout out for following that long. Why do you say you haven't done DMT? Personally, it's just because I don't really have the desire. You know, DMT is that endogenous chemical that's made in each of our pineal glands, and it's made naturally. So my view on that really quickly is that I feel that the goal, my goal personally, is to get as much endogenous production of DMT as I can. And methods for doing that include meditation, includes, of course, getting proper sleep. But what I've noticed lately is that turning off my Wi-Fi router, I've been doing that quite a bit, completely unplugging it at night, and my dreams have been much more vivid. There's also supplements you can take and whatnot that help your pineal glands, DMT and melatonin production. For instance, chaga. This is a big old mug of chaga tea. Chaga is extremely dense in a pigment called melanin. Melanin is a precursor to melatonin, which is a precursor to DMT. So you can take supplements, roots, herbs, natural things to help DMT production, right? I don't want to be somebody that's dependent on the exogenous chemical. I have also never done LSD, so just no desire. I don't know, that's just me. So I'm not saying don't do it, you know, if it calls to you, if you're in a proper environment, try it. You know, I'm one that promotes experience with learning. I think experience is the best teacher. It also can be the hardest teacher, but nothing will teach you as good as experience will. But you can also learn from other people's experiences, you know, and me hearing of other people's experiences with DMT and what I am personally looking for, I don't think I'm looking for that. Appreciate it, Jay. Lydon, Gelidon, 29. Jordan, kratom helped me get off opiates for pain. No withdrawal during the crossover. Thanks to your video, appreciate that for sure. Kratom is one of those herbs that the FDA is trying to ban and suppress because it's helping heal people. And kratom you have to be kind of careful with. It is something you can get addicted to. You can really get addicted to freaking anything. Addiction is in the mind more so than it's in the physical. But kratom helps get a lot of people off the bad stuff. You know, kratom is getting vilified much the same way CBD is by media pharma control structures. So a lot of great natural support systems out there, but at the same time, still want to be careful with it. You can get addicted to kratom. You can get addicted to destroying the illusion. Thanks, Aaron. It's a good addiction, but be careful with it. I personally haven't taken kratom in a long time. Let's see here. Plasma energy. Yeah. I like to kind of jump across the board with questions that I answer in these live chats. You know, I really should do like an hour devoted to particular topics because then we can get the conversation going about that thing. But let's jump around topics in this one here. Plasma energy. I was just mentioning what I've been seeing about fusion power getting into the mainstream. The thing is, and this is the idea that I've continuously tried to, you know, pound into my own audience's head with repetition, but that is a limited hangout. Limited hangout by way of, you know, because the deep state is getting so exposed right now, so many people are waking up and digging into their skullduggery, their nonsense that they've done on this planet. They need to distract people. They're desperate. So what they're doing is this limited hangout. They're willfully volunteering information, but it's only a sliver of the truth, and it's a little sliver of the truth that's also warped in context. So for instance, this magic fusion reactor, new fusion clean energy that the mainstream media is promoting, what they're not telling you is how free energy has actually been around for nearly a century. There's been plenty of inventors that have been suppressed and paid off, and some even suicided. Free energy is very cheap. You don't need giant multi-million, billion-dollar reactors to produce it. You can get a tabletop device, and you know, there's some individuals out there, if we only funded them with like 500,000, maybe $1 million, they could easily get a lab up and running and a production system going for some sort of tabletop desktop model to produce over Unity. Get yourself off grid with. So yeah, they don't tell you that. They want you to think that it's going to cost a bunch of money, and the new free energy of the future is going to be something that only very wealthy people can invest in. And they'll try to still make it centralized to make you pay for it, right? Limited hangout with fusion. Call into Quite Frankly at 7 tonight. Maybe I will. I'll shoot him a message on Twitter real quick. MMS. I'm seeing some people mention MMS. Very good stuff. I highly suggest. I also highly suggest being very well versed in it if you choose to use it, because it can be uncomfortable if you don't use it correctly. What up, John? Shout out, John. I'm going to make you a mod, because thanks for the hat. Where's my hat? This one. Boom. I like it. Oh, what up, Bo? I will get back to you on that source for MMS. Thanks for reminding me. What are my thoughts on C60, carbon 60? I think it could be helpful for you if you... Well, it's just... I have a lot of thoughts on C60. First of all, I think a lot of the C60 I see out there is very expensive. I think a lot of the products are kind of over sensationalized in what they can do. C60 is something you would probably have to take for quite a long time for it to actually just start noticing effects, the antioxidant effect of it. If you have extra money laying around, go for it. But the thing is, at least in my eyes, C60 is not a required nutrient for your body. So there's plenty of things that you should be covering up first and make sure you get first before even getting into C60 and buying that and thinking that's going to be your go-to for your best health. So many of the supplements that I prefer to get and find are those that support my body with what it needs to function. So for instance, spirulina, chlorella, greens, herbs, things like that. And these things are much cheaper than C60. They offer benefit in a variety of ways, more so than C60. But again, if you have all your other bases covered, you have extra bucks laying around, you're like, screw it, I want to try the C60, go for it. I've heard great things from what I have seen about it. Oh man, I've been having to do some of my own modding. That's why I get distracted with this too. Do some of my own modding in here. Hats for mod powers. Quick, everyone send him a hat. You can be a mod. I need some more mods in here. All right, guys, I think that's all for this one. Thanks for hanging out with me for a little while. In these live chats coming up, I am going to get myself set up with OBS, Open Broadcasting Software, and Zoom, and figure out how the heck to live stream on YouTube from my desktop with a screen capture. So that way, all the stuff I talk about, we can discuss, and I can bring up for you on screen what I'm talking about. So it's the way of the future. And I finally got to get with it. Finally got to get with it. So yeah, I'll be doing that, figuring out how to do it coming up. And